The 12th Doctor, Bill and Nardale, investigate a strange space station, but are interrupted by Walking Dead in spacesuits. Will they make it out alive? And how much does air actually cost? Welcome, friends and companions. How are you today? So, this is a meeting place for fans. Sci-Fi Fantasy fans, also the fans, meet on this channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. All the things we like. Except for politics and religion. We don't do these things. We don't discuss these things on this channel because these are not entertainment. We want to have fun, laughter, and humor. So no politics, no religion on this channel. So we talk about all sort of things: books, movies, series, franchises, and I'll also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, and a special place on this channel for my most beloved sci-fi series, Doctor Who. Ooh. Yeah, this show is my most beloved sci-fi series, and I will watch it till eternity. Yes, I'm very, very dedicated to this series, and I rewatch every time I watch the episodes of Doctor Who, and every time I discover new things and I enjoy new things on this series. So I highly recommend you if you haven't watched Doctor Who yet. hmm, I highly recommend you to do that. Um, so, and if you want to discover the universe, I've made some playlists um, for the different doctors, eras, seasons, stories, whatever. You can see for yourself. But I must warn you, spoiler alert, if you watched the stories yet, not to listen, or you can choose otherwise. But yeah, try Doctor Who for yourself. Um, I watch regular episodes of Doctor Who, and also spin-offs. For example, Torchwood, Sarah Adventures, Claws. You've got the Australian K9 TV series. Further on, you have the Tales of the TARDIS, and you have you have some Big Finish, and yeah, the universe is very big, so yeah, there's always some things to enjoy. We have all of our favorites, and it's also a thing in Doctor Who. There is canon, there is non-canon. It is for you to choose as fan to decide what is canon or non-canon. That is the strength. That's my positivity. I mean, it's positive about this show. You can choose your own canon, uh, and yeah, that's there's some paradox, but that is Doctor Who. Uh, on one hand, there is canon and there is non-canon on the other hand. But that's the case. You can choose your own canon in all things. You choose your own favorite Doctor, your own favorite eras, your own favorite stories and episodes. Um, yeah, but I love the Doctor. Yes, I love the Doctor. I always will love the Doctor. That's a statement. Yeah. Think about that. Think about that. Yes. You can interpret it for yourself what I mean by that. Uh, no matter what, I love the Doctor. So, this channel has multiple names. And most of the time I call it Random Entertainment Channel. And why is it called Random Entertainment Channel? Because we will discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books, and music. Random also because we broadcast on non-fixed times and actually on many different times. The reason behind this is simple. I want to meet as much people as possible in different time zones, different countries. I want to make friends and companions, and I want to serve as many people as possible, and I want to spread out the news. That's it's good to share with each other things we are interested in, we are liking. And then this time for this live stream is Doctor Who. And yeah, I love Doctor Who very much. That's the reason I talk about it very regular about Doctor Who because I like it. So so that's the reason why the broadcast on many different times. So you need to subscribe to this channel to know what time the broadcast is. Actually, that's very important. Very important. And I will go with the flow with the waves, but wherever it leads me. And Doctor Who is past, present, and future. The Doctor travels to time and space in his TARDIS, and so is this channel traveling through time and space. And and one other live stream I do this story and another doing this story. So we travel and travel across all the stories of Doctor Who. But you can see it organized on my channel in different playlists. So if you want to know more about some Doctor episodes about stories, you can find some things in structured in the playlist of this channel. Uh, so actually, in my channel is a little bit of a sort of encyclopedia, and yeah. So I had to actually give people some knowledge, some and also fire up and to give some enthusiasm about people for Doctor Who to be interested for it. And so that's the reason for the different things to talk about. Crisscross in the universe. Yes, I know it's enigmatic. It is mysterious, but I'm that's my name, and then also random. Is shuffling. What? Get yeah. So random entertainment channel also because we have no guests or different guests. It depends what you join me in live stream or panel. If you want to join me in live stream, feel free to contact me via, and you can put a comment actually on one of the YouTube videos, and you can meet me and visit me on the Discord server of the random entertainment channel. So, and we will look what is possible. What is also possible is to invite me for your channel for a live stream or panel, because I was also to contribute on your channel and talk about things we are interested in. Yeah, for example, Doctor Who. So, in summary, you are invited for a live stream to take a seat next to me, and feel free to invite me for your channel to contribute and to talk about things we are interested in. So, free invitations. So, the Discord server is called Random Entertainment Channel. If you tag Doctor Who on this board, you will find me very quick because I bump the server regularly. So cheers, mate, and have lots of fun. This is your host, Enigmatic Joker. Mysterious and random. Today, you can see it in the avatar. We have a 12 Doctor story called Oxygen. Oxygen. Take some oxygen. It's good to breathe between the lines. Haha. Okay, some general info uh, for this story. Oxygen was the fifth episode of Series 10 of Doctor Who. This episode started a minor arc for Series 10, which the Doctor is rendered permanently blind after saving Bill from the vacuum of space by giving her his helmet. This is the first occasion where Nardole joins the Doctor and Bill on an adventure, as he was usually left to stay behind on Earth. It's actually he's now traveling with two companions. So, okay, we will now dive into the plot. So, spoiler alert: if you haven't watched and or listened to this episode, this story yet, I highly recommend to do that. And otherwise, you can decide for yourself to watch, to listen further to the live stream. Are you ready? Let's go. On the other outer hull of the space station Chasm Forge, workers Ivan and Ellie make their way to the top of the space station to make repairs. The two are romantically involved, and Ellie attempts to tell Ivan via her comms system that she's now ready to have a child with him. But he can't hear her due to the interference with the system. Ellie examines her air tank to discover that she is running low on oxygen and is required to purchase more. From behind, two figures start walking toward her, also wearing suits but without their helmets. The humans wearing the suits are obviously dead. Ellie turns to see them advancing on her, and she screams, but Ivan can't hear anything. Just as he finishes his repairs, Ivan turns to look behind him and sees the two figures along with a now dead, helmetless Ellie advancing on him, and he screams. On Earth, the Doctor is in the middle of a lecture, which is supposed to be about prop rotation, but he chooses to speak about space instead. After the lecture, Nardo approaches the Doctor and calls him out on his desire to go back into space. While working on the vault, he voices his concern that the Doctor has plans to take another unauthorized trip, but the Doctor rebuffs that, stating that he's still on Earth guarding the vault. Later in the TARDIS, the Doctor is telling Bill about the possibilities that exist with exploring space. He suggests that Bill select a destination for a trip, but then himself set course to investigate a distress signal. At this point, Nardo arrives and insists that the Doctor remain on Earth and guards the vault. He presents a fluid link component he took from the TARDIS after one of the Doctor's lectures, under assumption that it would render the TARDIS immobile. However, this was a lie on the Doctor's part, as he then suddenly sets the TARDIS engines in flight, much to Nardo's surprise and chagrin, but to Bill's delight. The TARDIS materializes in the corridor on the space station, and the Doctor, Bill, and a very angry Nardo emerge. The Doctor expands the TARDIS air shells so that they can explore. Bill is amazed by the depths of space when looking out the space station window, while Nardo is still moaning about the Doctor's breaking his oath again. The trio then discovers a man in a suit standing in the middle of the repair bay. Upon examining him, they discover the man to be dead, but Nardo finds his airfield is still up, meaning he didn't suffocate. Bill finds it rather distressing that the mechanical suit is keeping the dead man propped upright. The Doctor examines the computer logs and discovers that the station was declared non-profitable after a majority of its workers were killed. The three proceed further into the station and discover a suit with no operator doing work. Suddenly, the computer, whose voice Nardole remembers as an ex-girlfriend named called Velma, states that there has never been oxygen in the station, and the unauthorized oxygen from the TARDIS has been detected and will be expelled. The Doctor, Bill, and Nardole race back to the TARDIS when the section starts decompressing the expanded air shell from it. Doctor seals the section off using the sonic screwdriver, but this leaves them unable to return to the TARDIS. A comms unit suddenly engages on the computer, and the voice on the other end introduces himself as Tasker. While the Doctor, Bill, and Nardo are distracted, the suit propping up the dead man becomes active and starts advancing towards the trio. Doctor tries to disable it with his sonic screwdriver, but the suit magnetically pulls the instrument from the Doctor's hand. The sonic screwdriver is crushed and the suit is disabled. Nardo looks outside and sees that the deceased workers are being operated by the suits and are advancing on them from the other hull. The doctor deduces that the oxygen is contained in the suits, so in order to survive, they put on the suits present in repair bay. While escaping from the smart suits pursuing them, the TARDIS crew are rescued by Tusker, Ivan, and other survivors on the station, Abby and Dan Wren. The crew tells the doctor that the suits are the property of the company which has turned access to oxygen into profit, that the suits have received instructions to deactivate their organic components. All other crew members were killed by an electric shock to their nerve systems, rendering them zombies. The crew make plans to retreat across the station's hull and escape to an uncompleted section of the station that isn't present in the station's mapping. Suddenly, the suits break into the section where the crew are hiding and kill Tasker with an electric discharge transmitted by touch. The remaining survivors retreat to an airlock at the end of the section, all putting on helmets to protect themselves from the vacuum. During the process of decompression, the suit Bill took from the repair bay begins to malfunction, deactivating Bill's helmet of its own accord. The doctor attempts to release Bill's helmet from the suit's grip, but to no avail. He warns Bill that she is about to be exposed to the vacuum and to breathe normally. The airlock opens and Bill loses consciousness when exposed to the vacuum. She briefly reawakens to find herself being walked across the hull by the doctor, without his helmet, as Ivan and Abby shoot the advancing suits. Bill falls unconscious again. Bill awakens alone in an empty section of the station. She looks up the hallway to see the suits outside the open door, but not entering. Bill's approached by Nardo and Ivan, who reveal that the suits can get into the section because it's a new area that isn't in their mapping system. They ask about the doctor. Nardo tells her that he gave her his helmet and walked her to safety, but it did cost him. He tells her that he's in section 12, a statement which the suit's register begin trying to locate. Bill finds the doctor sat alone in the section. He stands to face her and reveals that walking in a vacuum unprotected has blinded him. He assures her that the condition is temporary and that his sight can be restored on his return to the TARDIS. The crew regroup and the doctor makes plans on how to get them out alive. But Abby doesn't believe him due to his inability to save Tasker and threatens him. At that point, the suits lock 1612, Section 12 into their mapping system and come in, killing Darren and Abby attempts to hold them off, but the crew end up fleeing. Just before making it to the next section, Bill's suit malfunctions again, magnetizing itself to the floor and rendering her immobile. Knowing that there is no way of getting Bill to the next section, the doctor leaves her behind while the others escape and the suits approach her. Bill makes an appeal to her mum, while the suits deliver the electrical discharge and seemingly kill her. Remaining survivors arrive at the station's power room, where the doctor highlights on the suit's operation being heavily established by a capitalist attitude. The doctor claims that he is attempting to redirect the flow of water, cooling the generators to convert it into oxygen, but instead connects the generators to their suit's life science, meaning that if they die, the generators will overheat and explode. The doctor insists that the suits be let in, seemingly as a grand statement about the inevitable downfall of capitalism, and Ivan reluctantly complies. As the suits advance and are about to kill them, the doctor declares that their deaths would be expensive and the suits stop. The suits analyze the generators and conclude that it will be a greater loss for the company if the crew were to die and the station were to explode. So the suits remove their oxygen tanks and get them to the survivors. The doctor also re-engages Bill's oxygen tank and Bill revives, her suit's battery having to weak an electric charge to prove fatal. Back on board the TARDIS, Nardo restores the doctor's eyesight, and the doctor gives Abby and Ivan the option of what they wish to do. wished to be taken to head office to make a complaint about the company and the events that transpired on Chasm Forge, to which the doctor complies. Later, back at the university, the doctor tells Bill that the after effects of Abby and Ivan's complaint was the catalyst for the eventual downfall of space capitalism. After Bill leaves, Nardo emerges from the TARDIS, still furious at the doctor's reckless behavior. He berates the doctor for endangering himself in a selfish gesture and points out that he knows the stakes of leaving the vault unattended. If the doctor were ever injured or sick or dead, there would be no one left to guard the vault effectively. The doctor refuses to look at him, and as Nardo continues to berate him and demands that the doctor look at him, he rises and removes his glasses, claiming he can't look at anything ever again. He's still blind. And that, my friends, is the end of the story, Oxygen. I will name some cast members. The Doctor is played by Peter Capaldi. Bill is played by Permaki. Nardo is played by Matt Lucas. Ivan is played by Kieran Bew. Tusker is played by Justin Sender. Dan Wren is played by Peter Caulfield. Abby is played by Mimi Nidiniweni. And Ellie is played by Katie Braben. Some world building. In physics, the doctor gives a lecture about space, describing how one dies when exposed to the vacuum, while the audience was expecting a lecture about prop rotation. Some world building in chemistry. Two things. Point one, the boiling point of water is much lower in a vacuum. And the second thing in chemistry is that electrolysis is splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. Nardo assumes this is the doctor's plan to produce more oxygen, which would last 5 minutes. Some world building in biology. 6 points. Point one, Nardo mentions that he hasn't been his true face for years. He swapped it for his current one on the run. Second thing, the doctor intentionally maxes out his companion's adrenaline as fear keeps you fast. Fear also causes an acceleration in breathing, though which would constitute a waste of oxygen credits while on chasm and forks. A third thing is that when the suits kill the crew, they deactivate the organic component and disable the central nervous system. A fourth thing in biology is that Bill wonders what happens if she were to throw up in the space helmet. A fifth thing is that after having been exposed to the vacuum of space, Bill suffers from oxygen deprivation. And the last thing in biology is that the doctor says he has spare eyes in the TARDIS, though they're from lizards, though the validity of this claim is never brought up. Some world building in technology. 11 things. The space helmets experience an error of their radio comm channel. Second, Dr. calls distress calls his team tune, an emphasis that he only sees the true face of the universe when it's asking for his help. Third thing is that Chasm Force uses artificial gravity. Fourth, the Doctor is happy that the space doors, as Nardo calls them, are of a classic design. They have pressure seals and hinges. He and Nardo disagree on whether space doors could go shuck or groan like these do. A fifth thing is that the smart suits employed at Chasm Forge uses gyro stabilizers, magnetic boots, and gloves, and has onboard the computers. According to the Doctor, it can run, jump, and update one's Facebook. They also have force fields to keep the air in, and oxygen tanks for the air supply. The suit's AI have a limited problem solving. A sixth thing in the technology is that smart suits have unfolding helmets. Seventh thing is that to send the distress call, the miners boosted a smart suit through the dish. Eighth thing is that the Nardo relates the smart suit's nav system to when your set nav doesn't know a new route. Ninth thing is that the smart suits uses a power cell to get into the power core. The 10th thing in technology is that the doctor hacks into the coolant system. And the last thing in technology is that the doctor likens smart suits to an algorithm and a spreadsheet. Some world building in medicine. Doctor claims he has stuff in the TARDIS that'll cure anything, though he's unable to completely heal his eyes. Uh, some world building in the TARDIS. Um, the Doctor once told Nardole that the TARDIS can't go anywhere without the fluid link K57. However, he reveals this to be untrue after Nardole steals the fluid link in an attempt to prevent the TARDIS from taking off. The second thing with the TARDIS is that the air shell emanating from the TARDIS can provide oxygen to enough of the space station for the TARDIS crew to stroll around. Some things in traveling, the Doctor compares going to outer space to camping, and they refers to tents and campsites. And Bill asks if there are reviews for space locations, like there are online for restaurants. I'm going to also visit some restaurants in the space. What menu are there? Units of measurement. Distance is measured in average breadths rather than in meters. Some locations in world building. The Doctor sent Nardole to Birmingham for a packet of crisps. Chasm Forge is a mining station in outer space. It has a crew of 40. A third thing is that TARDIS crew gets trapped in a repair station. And the fourth thing is that surviving workers ask the Doctor to drop them off at head office. Some world building business and economics. The smart suits are made by Ganymede Systems. Ganymede provides oxygen for personal use only, charging credits for air and making breathing into a capitalist endeavor. Unauthorized oxygen is automatically expelled to protect market value. A third thing is that the Doctor sees the endpoint of capitalism as a bottom line where human life has no value at all. End quote. According to the Psychic paper, the TARDIS crew is from the Union. Some world building in currency. The Chasm Forge crew has to pay oxygen credits to stay alive. Some things in resources. Chasm Forge is a station for mining copper ore. And second thing is that the managers of Chasm Forge are seeking a bottom line for oxygen usage and are seemingly prepared to kill off and replace workers if they're using too much of it. Some world building foods and beverages. The Doctor says that it takes 5 minutes to boil the hell out of an egg. Second thing, Bill mentions a lasagna when giving examples of what a restaurant review is. Third thing, Doctor sent Nardo out for crisps. Doctor tells Darren he sends him out for a latte. And the Doctor says the phrase, universe is your crustacean. Some world-building people, Nardo recognized Bill's smart suit's interface voice as his ex Velma. Remembers her as a nice girl, was an actress, a bit orange, left for me an AI at a call center. The second thing in people is that as a result of saving Bill from dying through exposure to the vacuum, Doctor has now become blind. An attempt to return his vision was made, but only the color in his eyes returned. Something about Time Lords. Time Lords can survive in the vacuum of space longer than humans can. That's one of the things that Time Lords can. Some literature. The Doctor says, death there is thy sting, quoting the first epistle to the Corinthians in the New Testament. And another thing in literature is where Bill reads a book called Leonardo on Leonardo da Vinci. This book was the image of the Mona Lisa on its back cover. Some things in the influences. Inspired by films like Gravity, Stephen Moffat wanted to explore the extent to which the vacuum of space was inherently inimical to human life. And the Chasm Forge space station was named after the very forge from Silent Running, which itself referred to the site of an encampment for George Washington's Continental Army during the American Revolution. Something in culture, Doctor uses the phrase fun fact in his lecture. The doctor mentions, amongst other things, the smart suits can do updating Facebook. A third thing in culture is that Darren cannot understand why Bill would experience racism herself. He suspects her to be racist because of her reaction to his blue skin. Nardo says that, quote, some of his best friends are bluish, end quote. A fourth thing is that the Doctor insinuates that the purpose of jokes in general is to distract people from whatever's about to kill them. A fifth thing is that the Doctor jokes that, quote, too many rescue ships, end quote, is a first world problem, end quote. The Doctor quips that he thought that he was just tweeting, rather than locking the crew out of the subroutine. Next thing is that Bill wonders whether the deceased man in the working suit was his tunes on when he doesn't respond. Another thing that while standing with Darren, Nardo states that the sum of his best friends are bluish. This joke of calling a blue person bluish, as if it is their race, was first seen in the 1969 Beatles animated film Yellow Submarine, where it was used by Blue Meanie in an attempt to identify if the Beatles were a member of their ranks. The original use was meant as a satire of the then common phrase, you don't look Jewish, but it was not intended to be derogatory. Another thing is that two references to Star Trek are made. The Doctor makes a speech about space being the final frontier, quoting the monologue that opens each episode of Star Trek. The original series and Star Trek The Next Generation. And last thing is that Leonardo mentions the swish around sound the doors always make. Doctor says he hates that noise. Next thing is that that is for some world building, some story notes. The episode was briefly renamed Zero Hour because there was concern that the subplot about oxygen conservation was substantial enough to warrant the original title. However, it was then decided that James Madison had achieved a suitable balance between this element and the killer smart suits. Another note is that those two scenes of the Blind Doctor were featured in an earlier teaser shown at the end of the Return of Doctor Mysterio. Except his eyes weren't cloudy in order to not to spoil this plot point. Third thing is that on the fan show, Jamie Madison worried that this episode would turn out to on the fan show, Jamie Madison worried that this episode would turn out too political due to his blatant anti-capitalist themes. Another thing is notably the very next series made an episode with a pro-capitalist and anti-capitalist message. Another thing is that assistant director Lauren Pate plays the student who questions the Doctor in the opening scenes. Next thing is that 3 out of the 5 guest actors in this episode had previously voiced roles in Big Finish, Doctor Who, or Benny Summerfield, namely Karen Brew was in The Lady of Mercia and The Helm of All. Peter Caulfield was in Cold Fusion, and Mimi Newdwaney was in Big Dick. On the other thing is that on the fans show, Jim Madison said that an ongoing joke on the set was calling Peter Caulfield Blue Peter. Another thing is that Jim Madison's original pitch was rejected by Stephen Moffat for being too dark. Instead, Moffat asked Madison to develop an adventure which would represent Bill's first experience in space. Another thing is that the original outline involved a crystalline space parasite whose queen could mimic the sound of a distress signal in order to draw spaceships to their doom. The parasite could leap from vessel to vessel, and their gaze allowed them to influence people's thoughts. When the Doctor and Bill arrived, several ships, including some that were at war with each other, had been lured to the parasite's nest. As the parasites picked off the ship's crews on one by one, survivors were forced to make difficult decisions due to their limited reserves of oxygen. Another source of drama was the paranoia which stemmed from the uncertainty of which individuals had been brainwashed by the parasites. There would also be a climatic conflict about whether the parasite queen should be allowed to survive. Considering the original brief, Jamie Madison decided to re-emphasize the theme of space as the enemy. Instead of their mind-controlling parasites, ships would now be plagued by their own death, who had turned into zombies after being exposed to the absence of air pressure in a vacuum. Forming an easy alliance with a group of survivors led by Klein, Doctor and Bill found a variety of ways to navigate between the different vessels. Doc eventually discovered that the zombies were being created by a crystalline entity living in a nearby asteroid, which he convinced to cease its attack. There was an original outline for this story. I think it can change. So another thing is that having been peppered with questions about the series by 12-year-old Ivan, the son of his friend Darren, Jim Madison used both names for members of the spaceship crew. The latter became Don Wren. Another thing about Tyrannus was originally described as having an arachnite face. He became a blue-skinned alien in order to spare the expense of fabricating a spider-like prosthetic. Another thing is that the zombies were originally known as carriers, since they could not infect others with a touch, and there were originally two other survivors, Maddox, a female soldier, and a male hacker called Carlo. With the Doctor and Bill, they made their way through various spaceships while evading the carriers. Aboard one, the Doctor reversed the gravity so that they could pull themselves along furniture bolted onto the floor while the carriers were trapped on the ceiling. Intent on keeping their numbers small in order to conserve oxygen, Tusker murdered Carlo because his skills were deemed redundant in comparison with the Doctor's. Bills tried to kill Bill before the Doctor observed that he actually offered less to the group than any of the others. Tusker later sacrificed himself to slow down the carriers. Maddox became a carrier and she was able to act as conduit for the Gestalt entity of which the carriers were a part. She revealed that the infection started when a mining ship began excavating strange crystals from a nearby asteroid. Maddox affected Ivan, who killed Darren. The Doctor was able to reactivate one of the vessels, using his missiles to destroy the asteroids and ships, while teleporting himself and Bill back to the TARDIS. Another thing is that although Stephen Moffat liked the script, he felt that his ambition needed to be scaled down. For his part, Jim Madison thought that the elements of the carriers and the search for oxygen tended to be in competition rather than complementing each other. Instead of being animated by the effects of the crystals, Moffat suggested that the carriers could instead be corpses propelled by their spacesuits. Madison agreed with this approach, although he was aware that the monsters would have to be presented differently from the Vasta Nerada, which has taken the form of space-suited skeletons. Another thing is that originally it was Tusker who survived electrocution, only to find herself among the spacesuit corpses. However, she subsequently suffocated because she was unable to obtain more oxygen. Another thing is that in the second draft, James Madison reused the name Klein for Ganymede Systems bureaucrat who confronted the Doctor at the climax. Another thing is that in the second draft, after this threat to blow up Chasm Forts provided him the opportunity to get the survivors aboard the TARDIS, the Doctor destroyed the space station anyway. Another thing is that the Doctor's blindness were originally cured by the end of this episode, but Stephen Moffat's feeling that this would have weakened the story agreed to Jamie Madison's suggestion that it should be permanent, as Moffat now wanted to explore the ramifications of his sacrifice in subsequent stories. Another thing is that the episode formed block 4 of season 10 alongside the Eaters of Light. Another thing is that Matt Lucas ad-libbed the line, "Some of my best friends are bluish." Another thing is that the scene where the Dr. Bill Nardo first encountered a smart suit corpse had to be remounted, since the original makeup on extra time Tim Reed had now been deemed too gruesome. Another thing is that the Empire State Building mast built for the return of Dr. Mysterio was repurposed for the opening scene. Another thing is that Steve Moffat decided to give the Vault subplot a greater presence throughout the first half of season 10. With new episodes, with new scenes added to Thin Ice and Knock Knock, the Vault Chamber footage recorded for this episode was no longer entirely suitable. As such, Star Wars Palmer filmed additional sequences on the Vault Chamber set at the road lock. He also captured a closing shot which revealed the Vault's occupant to be Missy, which was taped later the same day at the Coal Exchange in Cardiff. It was dropped in editing. And last thing to note is that Jim Madison chose the name Ganymede System as an allusion to Gus, making the episode a prequel to Mummy on the Orient Express, explaining why Gus had been so determined to snare the Doctor. So, there are some notes. Now, the last thing is continuity. I have 11 points. And again, I repeat myself again and again. To some extent, stories and episodes in the universe are related to each other, are linked to each other, are referenced to each other, are is influenced by each other. And the funny thing is, every time I rewatch a story and episode, I discover new things, and I see some links and references and some relation between different episodes. And of course, it also is some interpretation from for everything is an interpretation. There are, but I discovered 11 things, and these are following things. Time Lords can survive in a vacuum for limited periods of time far longer than humans can. We see that, for example, in the story Four to Doomsday. That is a fifth Doctor story with Edric, Nyssa, and Tegan. And we see that in the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe in the 11th Doctor story with Matt Smith. And the 10th Doctor once said he had a knack for it. It is in comic Interstellar Overdrive. Second thing is that Nardo once more stresses the Doctor's oath to stay on Earth to guard the vault. TV stories The Pilot, Smile, Thin Ice, and Knock Knock. Third thing is that Doctor and his companions are almost sucked into the vacuum of space. We see that also in Dalek's master plan. That is first Doctor story with the companions Stephen, Katerina, and Sarah. There's also we see that in the Impossible Planet. That's with 10th Doctor and Rose. And there's a case in the Voice of the Damned. That is also with the 10th Doctor, and then with the companion Astrid. This is a Christmas special of 2007. A fourth thing is that the Doctor refuses to believe he can't save his companion. There's also Voice of the Damned. We see that in The Snowman, that is with the 11th Doctor and Matt Smith. And we hear that in the story Hell Bends with the 12th Doctor Peter Capaldi. A fifth thing is that a picture of Bill's mum appears in Bill's flashback. TV story The Pilots in Doctor Who Series 10, BBC One, 2017. And Knock Knock, as also Doctor Who Series 10 in BBC One, 2017. Sixth point is that the sonic screwdriver is broken. That's also the case in the TV story The Visitation, with the fifth Doctor Peter Davison and his companions Edward, Nyssa, and Tegan. The sonic screwdriver is also broken in Smith And Jones, that is with the 10th Doctor David Tennant and his companion Martha Jones. We see it that the Sona screwdriver is broken in the 11th hour with the 11th Doctor Matt Smith. And we see it in A Christmas Carol. That's a Christmas special, but also with the 11th Doctor. And and sad thing is that the stardust extends its air shell, so those around outside of it can breathe. We see that in the Runaway Bride with 10 Doctor David Tennant, and we see Donna Noble in it, and we see it in the Beast Below. Yes, that's also with 11 Doctor and Amy. And we see it in a game TARDIS. Eighth thing is that the Doctor says the TARDIS the Doctor says that fear is good as it keeps one fast. We see that in the TV story The Time of Angels with the 11th Doctor Matt Smith and Amy Pond and River Song. He previously so Doctor says that fear is good as keep one fast, and he previously described it as a superpower that is in the TV story Listen, also, with 12th Doctor and Clara. And as a generator of severity in TV story Amy's Choice in TV with 11th Doctor Matt Smith. Ninth thing is that the Nardo removes the Doctor's fluid link in an attempt to keep him grounded on Earth. Also with the case removing of the fluid link is also a thing that the first Doctor did in the Daleks. William Hartnell with the companions Susan E. and Barbara. Because he was curious about I want to investigate the Skyro infect. That's why he moved the fluid link. A 10th thing is that Doctor says that there was always the last option to be dying well. He previously didn't think this was possible. There's also the case within For Tonight We Die. That's in fact that is a reference to a link to the Doctor Who spin-off Class. That was the first episode of Class, and where we see the 12th Doctor. Actually, in the first episode of Class, we see the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi. So also some commercial for that Class. I've already watched and rewatched the Class, and actually I watched the third episode of Class today. So yeah, also recommendable. So this I repeat it. The Doctor says that there is always the last option to be dying well, and he previously didn't think this was possible, and that is the case with the TV story For Tonight When I Die, the first episode of Class. And the last thing is that the Doctor acknowledges a history between fate and him, and there's a link to Prose Christmas on a rational planet. So, and that, my friends, is all I have to say about this story. Fast commercial. Sci-Fi and fantasy fans meet on this channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, and a special place for on this channel for Doctor Who. Random Entertainment Channel discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books, and music. Random Cause will broadcast on non-fixed times, actually many different times. You need to subscribe to this channel to know what time broadcast is. Random also because we have no guests or different guests. It depends on what you join me in the live stream panel. If you want to join me in live stream, feel free to contact me via a comment on one of my YouTube videos or visit me on meet me on the Discord server and we will look what is possible. The Discord server is called Random Entertainment Channel. And if you tag Doctor Who on Discord, you will find me very quick because I bump the server regularly. So cheers, mate. Have lots of fun. It's your host, Enigmatic Joker. Yes! Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I'm so enthusiastic to do these live streams and the stories crisscross in the universe. So, thank you all. I'm looking forward to meet you. Yeah, see you next time. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Bye bye.